This is TWiT.
Okay, so my story of the week, I wanted to touch on a little bit of what Mr. Stephen just spoke about in the previous segment, and that's the whole aspect of being verified. So here recently in the news, NBC News reported that there's been a rash of verified, quotes, verified accounts on Twitter, stating a whole lot of outlandish things, even accounts such as, LeBron James of the Los Angeles Lakers requesting a trade to move away from the Lakers. Come to find out, that was not LeBron James, even though it was verified. That's pretty scary, right? There's a lot of ramifications around this type of stuff. So let me talk to you folks about verification. I'm gonna give you my 2 cents on it and give you what the facts of the matter are. When you sign up to be verified on the Twitter platform, you're basically saying, hey, I am who I am. I am providing additional information to prove that I am who I am. Therefore, I cannot be impersonated by someone else unless they have that same verification process in place, which, of course, they're not going to be able to do that. So when you look up Ant Pruitt on Twitter, Ant_Pruitt, wink, wink, you'll see there's a blue verification check there that says I am who I am, and other folks out there with that same handle are not going to have that check. The verification process, I think that's totally fine and does a good job. But now with Musk coming in as the new leader of Twitter and these new blue check verification, quote unquote, procedures in place, this has opened up the floodgate, basically saying, you know what? You pay your $8 a month, you get the blue check, and you are, quote, verified. A little bit of egg on the face of Team Twitter right now. I'm hoping they're going to step in and fix this procedure, but I just think it needs to be reiterated that right now, Twitter verification is showing pretty much as like a sales receipt that says, okay, I paid $8 a month. That's all it's doing. It's not necessarily preventing impersonation attacks like this here. Now, Mr. Sargent, I know that you have the blue check on your profile for Twitter, and I'm pretty sure you followed the steps because of impersonation attacks and things like that, right?
So I was verified in the before times when not Apple, but Twitter at the time was working on upping its journalistic game. So there was a time when Twitter was kind of going, okay, we are a platform that clearly is good for breaking news and for making sure that people can have information as soon as it's available. And so we need to reach out to our journalistic partners and make sure that if people are looking for that news, they can find verifiable sources for that news. And
fascinating.
So someone from Twitter reached out to the company that I worked for at the time where I was a news anchor. The company's called Newsy. And they said, we would like to verify your journalists that appear on camera. So give us a list of them. And so I and several other people who were on camera anchors gave over first our names, but then later on had to do the whole process where you, I believe at the time, like we had to scan our driver's licenses or something like that. And then I think a month later at the time, and this would have been around maybe 2012, 2013, a month later or so, then I had the blue check mark on my, next to my name. And so at that time, there was no official process for asking to be verified. And for a long time, that was the case. And then Twitter introduced an option where people who felt like they were notable or whatever it happened to be, or because they were being impersonated or whatever that happened to be, then you could go and apply for it. And then Twitter shut that process down for a while, and then they brought it back again. Yeah. And so that part got kind of confusing because, I mean, at the time, there was thought that like you had to be notable to be verified. And that wasn't what Twitter wanted the verification process to be. It wasn't a crown to place atop the heads of certain people. It was genuinely hey, this person is from in this case, a news organization and is very much this person, and what they're saying is tied to that news organization. And then it kind of branched out from there, because then it became something where if you had a certain number of followers, then that played a role, but the process wasn't exactly clear. The reasoning behind it wasn't exactly clear. I mean, at the time that I was verified, I probably only had like 500 or 600 followers. So it really was not about how big you were on the platform. It was about making sure that the journalists there were. And of course, then, Twitter, I'm sure, had a media team who reached out to different celebrity people and talked to, their teams and got them verified for different reasons. So there were all of these different kind of groups and reasons behind why verification was taking place. But in the end, it did mean that you could at least have some bit of, that when you're reading a thing, it is coming from the person who it says it's coming from, or the organization, the news organization that it says it's coming from. Mm-hmm. And that, of course, now has changed. And that's kind of what you're talking about.
I find it fascinating because I didn't quite know the whole journalistic angle. Mm-hmm. I tried to get verified several years ago because I was getting impersonated. Granted, I wasn't a huge celebrity or anything like that. But at the same time, I didn't like the fact that stuff was going out with my name on it. That was totally not me, totally screwing up my own personal brand. And of course, when I would reach out to Twitter to go through the whole verification process, they were like, no, you're a nobody, essentially is what they said. So we're not going to verify you. And then the verification process went away. Later on, after I came here to TWiT, we went through the verification process again, and I got it because pretty sure it's because of my affiliation and being employed by TWiT TV media. And it makes perfect sense. But then there's also the aspect of, when I'm going through my Twitter feed, you get the notifications panel. There's the mentions, there's the activity, and then there's that column that says verified. I really enjoy that. It's nice to see verified people, especially colleagues in the industry, that I'm able to interact with and not having to think twice about it being some faker poser account. Because at one point in time in my life, I had been confused by other accounts that looked like someone else that I knew, and they were being impersonated. And that's something that I wanted to touch on with this story here, because again, if you look at the story, the post of quote LeBron James and his, requesting a trade, it looks legit. Everything looks legit. You have to really dig into the details of it to see, oh, no, this is not him. It sort of reminds me of phishing emails that we get. Someone from, say Dick's Sporting Goods or something like that says, hey, we got a certificate for you. And you check out the email address. It comes from 8910-201 at notdicksportinggoods.co, And the average person would not see that. They just saw the big bold headline in the subject and so on and so forth, and says, you know what, let me go ahead and click on this and just dump all of my information in there. This totally reminds me of phishing, what's going on with Twitter's new quote verification. Now, I wanted to touch on one other thing here, because Mastodon is all of the rage nowadays. And I wanted to show my screen here if Mr. John Ashley will allow me to do so. So let's see, we hit this button here. Right now, we're looking at my Mastodon feed. And I personally have chosen to make my Mastodon private at the moment because I'm still trying to curate it. I don't necessarily want this space to be quite chaotic as Twitter and Instagram can be for me at times. So I've locked it down and made it private. And when people want to follow me, they have to request to follow me. So over here, there's this follow request. And I've been finding this to be pretty problematic as well, because how can I really verify someone? And there's a couple things I can look at. This very top request is just the Mastodon logo. Now on Twitter, when you see that standard, what is it, the blue egg thing or what have you?
Yeah.
Most people totally ignore that, right? Because they're thinking, nope, that's probably a bot. Okay, so, but that may not be the case over here, because sometimes I've found that I click on it and there are people that have joined the twit.social Mastodon instance, and they tend to be safe. But at the same time, my brain is thinking about Twitter and those norms.
The way that Twitter does it. Yeah.
Right. And I could see here, this is someone, they're brand new to the platform. They are posting, they are interacting with Leo and not necessarily being a troll or anything like that. These are just new faces that haven't quite set up their instance, set up their profile on Mastodon, because as you just said in the previous segment, it could be quite challenging for some people. So I'm doing my own little verification here and thinking, all right, do I let this person follow me? Yes or no? And I'll go ahead and allow this one to follow me now. But I just wanted to bring that up because everyone is in the geek space is saying, decentralized options such as what's going on with Mastodon and ActivityPub is the answer to Twitter. It's the answer to doing proper verification, because you can put in these rel tags, rel.me tags in your profile that says you are who you are, so on and so forth. But I don't know. I don't know if that's the answer. I know that it is an option, but I just think it's something that needs to be discussed, especially on the Twitter side of things, because I think they have the word verified defined wrong in their procedures.
Absolutely. Now, especially, it's completely lost its meaning, where that's like, they should not call this new thing that they have verified, because nothing there is verifying anything. Because I was confused about this when this whole new thing was first announced. What I thought was happening is if you paid the $8 a month, then you could go through the verification process to get the blue check mark. So that would mean that if you paid $8, then you got to access the form or whatever it happened to be, where you gave your name, you gave your email, you gave a photo of the front and back of your ID, and whatever other identifying information they asked for to make sure that it was you. No, it's not that at all. It's you pay the money, and then that gives you the check mark. That's it. There's no verification involved. They are claiming that because you are paying money, that is a verification in and of itself. And that's not enough to say that that's a person that is, because as we've seen,
how
Nintendo
is that?
It's so frustrating.
I can go in here and say, please verify me. You know what? But my credit card has been stolen. So, Mr. Sergeant, can I borrow your credit card to pay for this thing? And that's a verifiable transaction. It blows my mind, and Mr. John Ashley has some examples of like Mr. Rudy Giuliani, verified, and some outstanding tweets from the quote unquote verified Rudy Giuliani. I'm guessing, hey, they signed the credit card statement and say, yep, this is me. Here's my $8. Now let me get out here and just say all kinds of outlandish things.
Yes, I could create 8 different accounts and use my my payment to create those 8 different accounts, and I've got 8 different check marks that I could then do a bunch of stupid stuff with. That is not enough. I think if you're going to, because Elon's whole thing is that it was an elitist. It was elitist, and only some people could have it. Blah blah blah. If that is your argument, then fine. But let's make it so that it's the same process. It's still verifying that a person is who they say they are, not just pay money, you get it. That's not enough. That's not how this should be. So, it's frustrating. But I do want, because I think, so I used to also use the egg and or a lack of a profile photo as a means of going. There was even in Twitter, if you were verified, there was a setting where you could mute the tweets from someone who didn't have a profile photo.
Yep.
And then I was talking to a friend of mine who has low vision, and they were talking about how for people with low or no vision, meaning they are either blind or they, again, have low vision, many of them do not use a profile photo because it's not a part of how they sort of show themselves in the first place. And so I had to really shift my mindset there. And I turned that feature off because there was a whole community that I was potentially cutting off from that. So we need better verification than the sort of assumptions that we are having to use to protect ourselves in some cases, because they end up closing out certain people that you may want to be hearing from or talking to. It's all a mess.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
I'm Jason Howell. How do you thank your hardworking team? Well, with a Club TWiT corporate subscription, of course. You can show your appreciation and reward your tech team with a subscription to Club TWiT, and that way they'll be informed and entertained with podcasts covering the latest in technology. With a Club TWiT subscription, they're going to get access to all of our podcasts ad-free, members-only Discord, exclusive outtakes, behind-the-scenes and special content, and exclusive shows like Hands on Mac, Hands on Windows, and the Untitled Linux Show. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit and look for corporate plans for complete details.